Hey everybody, we have a collaboration spoiler review for Spider-Man Brand New Day here for you today. I'm Damian Walker from the Damian Walker channel.
I'm Sam from My Backup Plan, new channel, fourth video now,
Yeah,
going strong. We're here to talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day, more specifically this time.
yep. So, all right, so how we're going to do this is I'll give a brief synopsis again of the film, and then we will kind of just go into our thoughts and kind of delve into some of the spoilers and things like that. So,
Many thoughts.
all right. So again, this follows the events of the previous film where we get the repercussions of the spell that Doctor Strange put on the world that basically erased Peter Parker from the world. Everybody knows Spider Man exists, but they don't know of Peter Parker. Even physical elements of like photos and things like that have been erased or slightly tweaked to basically show that Peter Parker is not Spider Man, so nobody knows that. All right. So then what we do is we get into this film where we see Spider Man being Spider Man on the ground. So he is working with the law enforcement to help basically rid the city of petty crime and also some minor villains throughout the city. And then he's also following Ned and MJ as they're going through their college journey and finally graduating from college. And now they're getting an apartment together. So then the film basically focuses on both his struggle to really deal with the fact that nobody knows that he's Spider-Man and he really wants to re-engage with his friends, but also there's a brand new villain that's being introduced into this universe that is able to mind control and hop into different people, and they're trying to discover something that Spider-Man's really trying to dig in to figure out what the hell is going on here. And really, what this lands with is that Spider-Man partners with the DODC, which is kind of their Department of Defense against potential mysterious elements in the city and things like that. And he's partnering with them to figure out what the hell is going on here. So ultimately, Spider-Man is kind of in this dual story of both trying to reconnect who he is as Spider-Man and reconnect with his past life, and also try to uncover this new mystery and this new villain encountering the city. On top of all of this, as shown in the trailer, is that he's going through some changes based off of the spider bite that he received. So he's kind of going through some mutations and things like that. So
With
it's all
puberty.
these like kind of puberty elements trying to like. So it's a big amalgamation of a bunch of different things that ultimately culminate with us discovering this brand new villain in the world and kind of opens the door for the rest of the what they want to do with the next phases of the MCU. So that's just kind of a general overview mixed in with a few thoughts on it. So let's kick this off. Sam, what did you think of this film?
It's a mixed bag for me. I've been kind of surprised to see how overjoyed people are over this movie. Um, I think there's a lot of good in it. Generally, I liked more than I didn't like. That's why I gave it a 6 out of 10 in my review. Um, so let me just start with the good. This is hands down probably the best swinging we've seen in a
For
Spider-Man
sure.
movie.
Yep.
I remember seeing some behind the scenes like a year ago. They had Tom on wires, or at
Mm.
least a stunt double. They really put a lot of effort into making him feel like the web slinger that you play in the video games. They've even gone as far as to say that the video games directly inspired his movement. And there are several scenes in the movie during some like montagey moments of Spider-Man fighting crime that I was like, wow, that is like shot for shot from the game. So that was appreciated, but didn't hold a lot of water in the ultimate film itself. Um, I also think I'll get more into this is a positive and a negative for me. I think they really handle the dynamic of Peter Parker really well in this film. I really dug it more than probably the prior three with Tom Holland. Um, just having three films in the John Watts trilogy where you see Peter grow with MJ, with Ned, and their dynamic. I actually didn't realize until I watched this how warm I had become to that because I found myself missing it.
Mm.
Um, and that was not missing it in a way that was negative on the film. It was more like, wow, they've actually done a really good job establishing these characters in a way that makes me want to see them click. And there is a really good scene towards the end of the movie where Spider-Man is with MJ, is with Ned, and one of them knows his identity, the other does not. And they're just clicking like they were in high school. And that was one of my favorite scenes of the movie. Um, so back on the point, I really like seeing Peter struggle with his decision, and I thought that this was the strongest point of the film because it directly carried the previous film's payoff, which was Peter made the ultimate sacrifice as Spider-Man, and now he's dealing with the repercussions. Very, very akin to Spider-Man 2 from Sam Raimi. So I get where the praise is coming from in that respect. It's the rest of the movie that was a mixed bag for me. So I don't know. Do you want to talk about some of the things you liked before we get into some more negative feelings?
So I like this positivity you got because, as everybody knows, I'm the negative guy. So like
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
itching for
All
the.
right. Well, okay. I guess as a very cliche thing to say, it's well acted. I think that everyone gives a very good performance, even people who are in the movie a lot less than others. Michael Mando as Scorpion, he has nothing to do except be like a fly buzzing around Peter, right? But like I found him pretty entertaining. I thought he was fine. He was good, right? I couldn't stop seeing whatever his name is in Better Call Saul, but that's just because he has such a very familiar face. Um, I really like the scene Zendaya's in. Very, very heartbreaking scene for Peter. I saw it coming a mile away, but it was well acted. So I'm going to leave it at that for the positives because I do have, while I lean positive on the film, I have a sort of death by a thousand cuts feeling with this one that I didn't have with the previous three films. So, what did you think, Damian?
Okay, so I agree with a lot of those positives. Again, the web slinging was great. I thought Tom Holland and Zendaya, their chemistry is undeniable together, and I thought they had their scenes very well done. But for me, as I said in my non-spoiler review, this very much feels like an Iron Man 2 situation where they're really trying to ham fist in the rest of what they want to do with the MCU. And for me, this film desperately tried too hard to really set up the mutant saga. And this is where the spoilers comes in. Sadie Sink is playing Jean Grey.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Uh,
Um, and they make her incredibly mean. Like she's outright killing people in this film. Completely disregard for regular humans whatsoever, just to fulfill her mission. And she's very much known as kind of one of the leader of the X-Men and very compassionate for humans and things like that. So it was kind of jarring, just kind of knowing and how they're setting up this Jean Grey to be very spiteful, at least at the beginning of the film. I'd say there's a little bit kind of some redemption towards the end of the film, but outside of that, it's really Spider-Man to me doesn't really fit in with the mutant saga and the X-Men specifically in regards to how mutants are versus how Spider-Man is. And they add the element of Spider-Man having kind of a mutation, things like that. I think feels kind of ham-fisted in trying to make them relatable, making Spider-Man relatable to potentially being a mutant and how the mutants are. Just for me, it didn't fully outright work. And then on top of that, they have all these cameos to really
oh
once
my
again
God.
fit into this universe. You have Yelena in this, completely useless,
Yeah.
not needed.
I honestly
It's
think that was the worst scene of the movie for
right.
me. I thought that was awful.
Yeah, it's like absolutely not needed, but it's like yes, there's a bigger world. Yes, there's more superheroes. Yes, we just had the new Avengers, the Thunderbolts, and things like that. But it's very much not needed. The Hulk was completely useless in this film. Again, it was more just a ham fist the fact that the Hulk went through, kind of, the radiation and changes in his body and having the device that helps control his turning into the Hulk. So that's really the only reason he was in this film. Granted, he did have a very interesting and fun fight sequence, but again, it just very much didn't feel like it fit into the story just to add in these other elements. And you might disagree with that, I don't know, but again, it just felt like it was again just put in there to say, hey, there's these other superheroes and there's other world that's going on. And again, it's just this whole part of the story of trying to make this a part of the mutant saga and the beginning of the mutant saga, when it really should be more of a Spider-Man film and focused in on the repercussions of what he dealt with, which again they do very well in the first part of the movie, but the second half of the movie is just so overpacked and overbloated with all these cameos and all this additional story for the mutant saga that I feel like it lost its vision and lost its story. On top of, they have this big event film called Doomsday coming up in December, and that's fuck all in this movie. Like, they don't do any setup for that. It's like they completely forget about that's their big next step in this, and they are leaping many films in advance to set up X-Men and the rest of that. So for me, that's kind of where this film kind of lost its luster when it veered away from the Peter Parker story, which again at the beginning was very engaging and very good. And I thought Sam did a very good job of kind of recapping that. But then it gets into this X-Men storyline with Jean Grey, who's super fucking mean for some reason. And once you reveal Jean Grey, like, she's not the real villain. It's the
Yeah.
DODC.
Oh my god.
They are the actual villain here. Setting up like in the original Bryan Singer X-Men, William Stryker is kind of like that character, very much kind of anti-mutant and trying to steal their powers and be able to control them. So the whole idea is they're trying to take Jean Grey so they can map out her brain and then try to replicate that into people they can control. So it's very much, again, I thought, lost its way in regards to telling a good Spider-Man movie, in regards to let's set up the rest of the MCU here, knowing that the projections for box office, they're going to get everybody and their mom to see this movie. So it's like they have the audience there, so they can do whatever the fuck they want with it. And I thought they dropped the ball in regards to telling a very solid story, much like what I think Iron Man 2 had in their reviews. So
I like Iron Man 2. I don't think it's a upper echelon of MCU, but I think it's a decent movie.
That movie's grown on me, but at the time, I felt like it was way too packed.
Absolutely. I mean, people said the same thing about Age of Ultron, that it was setting up, things way down the line. I don't know. There's so many like nitpicks with this movie for me that just detract. Like, because, as you said, it is two movies at least meshed together. And like, the MCU has always borrowed stories. It has always taken liberties. Civil War, I just read the comic, plays out entirely different than the movie we got, right? They love to cherry pick things and put them into together. And I mean, most of the time, at least pre-Endgame, that worked. I feel like the more that we're branching off into these more obscure things, not that the X-Men are obscure, but it's like the more we branch off and feel this, like, I also wonder if it's something like, we got to get the MCU back on track.
Right.
X-Men are coming. Let's set the mood. Let's set the tone. And I mean, the majority of people seem to be digging that. But for me, it was like, okay, so Peter Parker is the main character, but this story's not about him anymore. And I went to a Spider-Man movie for Spider-Man. Totally on a tangent. This is directed by Daniel Cretton, right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay. That dude did Shang-Chi. I don't remember your thoughts on it. I thought it was a good movie until it wasn't. It has the best fighting in any Marvel movie to this day. Where was that energy? Because I didn't feel like the fight scenes in this were anything special.
That's fair.
They got the swinging down, but hand to hand, I was really expecting something. It didn't have to be martial arts like Shang-Chi was, but like, I didn't see the influence at all. I wouldn't have known it was the same director if I didn't know.
Right.
And to me, that is a bit of a sore spot. Marvel has never had outstanding action, but they've had some highlights. And I was really going into this expecting this to be another one of those. Talking about cameos and characters in this movie, it just drove me crazy. Florence Pugh shows up in a bathtub. And I sat there and I was like, okay, it's going to be like a 30-second bit, whatever. People are going to dig this. It goes on for like at least 5 minutes, maybe 8.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, are we really still doing this? Like, is this funny to people? Is this erotic to people? Like, what are we going for? Because it did nothing for me.
Right.
And I like her character. It just, so that was like initially a bit of a red flag for me, because that's pretty early on. Then there's Punisher, very, very in the trailer. Best
Yeah,
cameo in the movie.
yeah, and I specifically kind of left him out a little bit, and I wanted to. Glad you touched on it. I'll let you go on this, but Punisher was definitely a very big highlight of this film.
Yes, Punisher's great. I do think he's watered down, and I do think they MCU'd him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not in terms of violence. They did what they could, and I thought it was good enough. He's very like the whole time, like you're accustomed to seeing. But by the end of the movie, he's wearing a Spider-Man mask and he's dancing. And I'm sorry, that is not the Punisher. He just had a special presentation on Disney Plus that was very clearly not the same character in this movie. And I've seen arguments that that's the effect Spider-Man has on people. I'm sorry. The Punisher, nobody has an effect on him. If they do, it is not to that extreme. So I took issue with that. Sue me. Hulk being in the movie, okay, probably the most popcorny scene of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. It's an MCU film. We need to have something that makes people go crazy that they search up on YouTube later. I understand, and I'm not. I want to make it clear. I'm not asking this film to just be a movie about Peter's trauma, but there's no justifiable reason I can think of that Hulk needed to be in this movie besides the same one that Captain America Brave New World had, which is we don't have a big action sequence and we need one. And what have people been clamoring for? The Hulk. It just, again, didn't sit well with me. Even if it was a pretty good scene, it was
Right.
like, could we not think of anything? I mean, Spider-Man is the most popular character. We couldn't do anything else. So I don't know. Again, Death by a Thousand Cuts. Jean Grey saw it coming a mile away. So did everyone else who's ever read a comic book. Her redemption at the end, personally, didn't feel it was very earned either. You killed tons of people. Yes, you had a terrible, terrible, uh, traumatic event happen to you, but like that doesn't just mean you can get away with it. I hope. Like I don't know. Maybe they'll do a Wanda sort of thing where the next 8 films will be about her and her malevolence, but it didn't really work for me. And the DOD or whatever Department of Damage Control, don't even get me started. It was so obvious. It's like we're gonna introduce a new government agency, a new faction. No one's gonna see this coming. Like really? I, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, echo my thoughts here, please. I didn't largely didn't think the film worked, but at the end, I really liked the last scene of the movie. Peter and Ned do their famous handshake, and it sparked something in Ned's brain. And I'm glad it took the whole film for that to happen.
Yeah, and
I was really afraid they were just gonna like kneecap that storyline like a third or halfway into the movie because they knew people would miss their dynamic, but they didn't.
Yeah, and I think I've read some of the online theory behind that is, as we've seen in previous movies, Ned has some
Oh,
abilities
I didn't even
around
think
like doing
about that.
sling rings and stuff like that. So he might have some innate ability to be resistant to things like that. So that might be an element of it that going on. So I don't know if that's part of it, but it was very much alluded to the fact that Ned may have almost completely remembered who Peter Parker was by that end scene. So that's an interesting aspect of it. They were very clear that MJ still doesn't know who he is, despite the fact knowing that. And then you get your end credit scene where it has the spider tracker that Ned developed, and it kind of shows where your MCU 616 Spider-Man is beeping, and then it kind of zooms out and goes into outer space and kind of sees another Spider-Man is detected out there, which I very much read as the one aspect of Doomsday that they're alluding to here is that an incursion is starting, and the one of the other Spider-Men that we know about has come into the universe due to the incursion. So that's where I think that's leading to.
I'm inclined to agree. I feel like I know exactly what's happening because I've read some Doomsday leaks that are from pretty reputable sources, I believe. I'm pretty sure I know what they're going for. I don't want to say it here. It's not relevant to Spider-Man.
Right.
In case anyone is holding out for Doomsday. But I mean, cool. Spider-Man's coming. I guess. Like, I don't know. I actually initially thought they were going for the symbiote because, and I haven't read Secret Wars the comic, but apparently that's where the symbiote originates from in certain interpretations. So initially I saw that, I was like, oh, maybe they're hinting at the symbiote coming finally again. It's not what's happening. Maybe that still will happen. I don't know. But I think the post credit scene was a little underwhelming, especially considering we're setting up Doomsday. We have 6 months to go. Um, you would think they'd be building more hype towards it, but maybe they're relying all on the marketing. I don't know. It's weird because you've made the argument in this that you felt like this was setting up the mutant saga. That wasn't my takeaway. It was more just let's remind people we're the MCU. And and like I guess that's not the most sound argument either because every Marvel movie does that. But I felt it in this one more than usual. The insistence upon bringing in all these characters for 5 to 10 minutes in a movie that would have been perfectly well suited for just Spider-Man. Like it had the foundation. It really did. It had a new director that was going to bring new life into it. The trailers had some really interesting ideas. The mutation of his genes, the hand were in it. You know, everyone was theorizing that maybe Daredevil was going to show up because Punisher was there. Like you had all, to me, you had all the foundation to make a much more interesting story than the one we ultimately got.
Right.
And I agree with you in the sense that I don't think this was the movie to set up Jean Grey because while they show her to be malicious and mean spirited and having some kind of uh, something against the Department of Damage Control, I never felt like they went all the way with it either because they knew that she would need to be redeemed. So she like briefly has hold of a like 2 mile perimeter, I guess, or something like that, like WandaVision style.
Yeah, very much harkens to WandaVision.
And I never ever ever felt what the impact of that was. Like, could people leave? Could people not leave? Like, it's never explained. So it just kind of felt like we need to have something happen in our third act. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're gonna do Jean Grey, you're gonna incorporate all these elements. You got to go all the way. And I think they didn't want to because they probably eventually want to do Dark Phoenix. They want to make her an interesting character in X-Men. Um, so I don't know. I don't think you can't have both. You got to pick one. And I didn't think this film did that at all.
I mean, how do you do Dark Phoenix when you make her evil as fuck in this movie already? So how can you
I
get more dark? I don't know.
well, I mean, I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Wanda did a bunch of messed up stuff.
That's fair.
But she was also like with Russian people who were awful and evil. Like it kind of made more sense. Like she was being held against her will. She was molded into that. Whereas with this, Jean Grey is just like on her own. We don't even really know where she came from.
True.
She like they give us brief flashbacks, but very clearly to me felt like we have X-Men now. Let's just get one in. But they didn't do the work to like explain it. I don't know. I'm not going to remember her backstory at all in a month. Like nothing about it was memorable. How many times have we seen a character with torture as their foundation for their feelings? Like, right. I don't know. I mean, her sister died, I guess. I didn't know Jean Grey had a sister, to be honest.
Yeah, right.
That's the other thing. The Marvel movies at this point, like I grew up with them. I think the first one I saw in theaters was Thor, but I had seen all the other ones like via Redbox or just buying. And I was like much more in the comic sphere at the time. Not that Iron Man was ultra familiar to me, but like I remember watching an Iron Man show. I remember, watching countless YouTube videos on these characters and getting really, really immersed in it. I don't feel that connection to what we've been setting up post Endgame, and it's not just because the quality has gone down. I just think we're picking at the leftovers at this point.
That's fair,
and that's probably not completely true. I should probably do my homework, but nothing. Very, very few like gems in there so far. Like I thought Eternals was actually really interesting. I don't think it was a great movie, but it was. I thought the characters were cool. So I guess all I'm trying to say is like if we're gonna keep going forward in this universe, I'm not as invested anymore because I don't find the characters nearly as memorable, and I have concerns for that, I guess. But we'll see.
Yep. All right. I think we could talk for days on this, but let's put a bow on this. So, true. All right. I'm gonna, sticking with my same review. I'm giving this. I go out of 5 based off of Letterboxd, 2.5 out of 5 stars. Again, this movie just I think, tried too hard to stuff too many things into this film, and ultimately, endings and the way you kind of culminate the film are huge for me. And it just ended up too bloated, too overstuffed at the end. Tried to pack too many things into it, and I felt like it hurt the overall story of what you're trying to tell with Peter Parker and what his next steps are in the MCU. So that's kind of where I land on this particular film.
I mostly agree. I'm going to stand by a 6 out of 10, aka a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Like I said, there's more good than bad in here. Even though I did spend more time talking about the bad, for me, it's just it all added up to a very mediocre film for me. Um, I kind of wish this had just been separate from the MCU. It made me yearn for the days where we had the Raimi trilogy, where they were just they were on their own. They did what they wanted. They weren't tied to anything. I don't think we're ever going to get back there. These movies print money. They print money partly because they're part of a universe. Um, I wouldn't say it hurt my like feelings or interest in Doomsday. I
Yeah,
think they
same.
are so separate that it doesn't affect me. And honestly, I don't even think Spider-Man will be in it. To be honest, they would have revealed that by now. I feel like, especially because this film had nothing to do with it,
Mm-hmm.
that reinforced in my mind that he's probably just not in it for one reason or another. But I want a better Spider-Man film next time. That's all I'll say, I guess.
That's fair.
Let's focus on Spider-Man. Let's bring it back to basics because this film does that until it doesn't. It almost got afraid of bringing the scale down too much, I think, and I would have been perfectly fine with that. So we'll see what they do next. But for now, that's all I have to say.
Cool. All right.
So
Well, this is the part of the video where we say, please like, comment, and subscribe.
yeah,
We will in the description. So we're going to upload this on both of our channels. So in the description, we'll put a link to each of our channels in there also, so you have access to that. Let us know in the comments. What did you think of this film? Again, did you check it out opening weekend? Were you gonna did you make it, or did all your showings get sold out like seemingly everywhere around here is?
yeah.
And yeah, what do you think of the next steps for the MCU? We really appreciate any of the comments, feedback that you can provide in the comments. Really look forward to that conversation. So,
All right. For now, we bid you adieu.
and as always, if we don't see you again, bye forever.